Welcome to Vopak Terminal Teesside. The aerial photograph shows the permit office, the site entrance, the security office and the control room. It's important you pay attention during this contractor safety induction. You'll be given a simple written test to ensure that you've understood the information and the instructions. You must achieve a score above 80% to pass, otherwise you'll have to start again. If there are any parts of this induction you don't understand, please discuss with your Vopak host. First, some legal information. The Health and Safety at Work Act 1974 sets out Acts of Parliament, regulations and approved codes of practice that are enforced under UK civil and criminal law. Section 2 of the Act places general duties of employers to their employees. It shall be the duty of every employer to ensure, so far as is reasonably practicable, the health, safety and welfare at work of all his employees. The provision of safe plant and safe systems of work, safe use, handling, storage, transport of articles and substances. The provision of information and instruction, this contractor safety induction for example. Training and supervision as necessary. A safe place of work and safe access to and egress from it. A safe working environment and adequate welfare facilities. So far as is reasonably practicable, not endanger the health, safety and welfare of those not in your employment, for example the general public, contractors, visitors and trespassers. Section 7 of the Act places duties on employees. Every employee must take responsible care for the health and safety of themselves and anyone else who may be affected by their acts or omissions. Cooperate with their employer or any other person as far as is necessary to enable the employer to meet their legal obligations. Section 8 of the Act places duties on employees not to interfere with or misuse things provided pursuant to certain provisions. No person shall intentionally or recklessly interfere with or misuse anything provided in the interest of health, safety or welfare at work. Section 37 of the Act reminds us of our individual criminal liability. If an offence is committed by a corporate body with the knowledge or through neglect, connivance and consent of a senior responsible person, that person and the corporate body can be found guilty and prosecuted. And finally, Section 40 of the Act reminds us of our onus of proof, guilty until proven innocent. The normal procedure for burden of proof is that the defendant is innocent until proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Under Section 40 of the Health and Safety at Work Act, the defendant has to prove that he or she did everything practicable or so far as is reasonably practicable to protect against the risk. Why do we conduct an induction? First of all, the permit originator has a duty of care to remind you, the contractor, of the law and provide you with information and instructions for working on this site. Secondly, as the contractor, you have a duty of care to take notice of the information and instructions supplied to you by Vopak and carry out the work you are here to do in accordance with your training. If you consider anything to be unsafe or put anyone at risk, then bring it to the attention of the permit originator or any Vopak employee. Don't hesitate to speak out. We operate an open and just safety culture at Vopak. The Vopak Terminal Teesside is rated as a top-tier control of major accidents and hazard site and has hazards that are related to extremely flammable and toxic liquids with the attendant risk of fire and explosion. Fires and explosions are caused by uncontrolled sources of ignition, for example, a cigarette lighter used by someone having a quick smoke or a mobile phone in a potentially hazardous area. When it all goes wrong, it can affect people, the planet, and equipment. If it goes wrong here, this is a major accident scenario showing the catastrophic failure and explosion of the VCM sphere. The safe distance is 3,167 meters, or 2 miles. That's the roundabout at the junction of Seaton Carew Road and the A1185. Smoking and mobile phones. Smoking is not allowed on the working part of the site because of the flammable nature of some chemicals. A smoking shelter is located next to the permit office. The wearing of PPE is not allowed while smoking. Mobile phones are not allowed on the working part of the site because they are a potential source of ignition. Mobile phones can only be used in the contractor's compound behind security, in the car park and in the main office. Electronic devices. Personal audio, visual players and radios are not allowed on the working part of the site because they are a potential source of ignition. Laptops and cameras may only be used on the working part of the site under the restrictions imposed by the permit to work. All portable electrical equipment should be maintained and fit for purpose and display a valid portable appliance testing label. Forbidden substances and items. The use and possession of alcohol and drugs is forbidden on this site. People who appear under the influence of drugs or alcohol will not be permitted access to the terminal. If you are taking any prescribed medication, please inform your Vopak contact. Firearms and weapons are not allowed on the terminal. CCTV. This site is covered by 24-hour CCTV surveillance. Recordings are kept for about 90 days and may be used as evidence in the event of an incident. The cameras are monitored by operations from the control room and security from the main security office. Vopak's business is the storage and handling of chemicals as safely as possible. The chemicals we store can be flammable, that means they'll burn easily. Toxic, they may poison you and be dangerous to the environment. Corrosive, they'll act like an acid on your skin. Some chemicals could be all three. Flammable chemicals, they'll ignite very easily. They may give off poisonous fumes when burning. Fire can spread rapidly. Do not endanger yourself by attempting to fight a fire. Raise the alarm immediately at the nearest fire alarm call point. Toxic chemicals. Poison can enter your body by breathing in the chemical fumes, getting the product onto your skin, eating the product, usually by transferring the chemicals from your hands to what you are eating. Corrosive chemicals. They can burn or irritate your eyes, throat, or skin. Vopak fundamentals. Every person working at a Vopak location should be able to go home at the end of the working day without having suffered or caused harm in any way. Eliminating or minimizing risk for all persons is a key element underpinning all activities undertaken by Vopak. In today's complex world, this requires a continuous effort from us all. We can only achieve this if every employee and contractor working at a Vopak location understands the risks, realizes the critical importance of safety, and knows what to do. Fundamentals on safety form an integral part of Vopak Safety, Health and Environment Management Standard. Vopak Fundamentals. Vopak's 8 fundamentals on safety are the minimum requirement for all Vopak locations. If in doubt, please discuss these with your Vopak contact. They are the transfer of product, management of change, permit to work, lockout and tagout, confined space entry, working at heights, excavation, motorized vehicles. Transfer of product. The safety information on the product is available, known and understood. The pipeline configuration and lineup is checked. Appropriate grounding of the transport medium is carried out to prevent electrostatic discharge at all times. The appropriate personal protective equipment is prescribed and worn. Management of change. Temporary and permanent changes to systems, processes, procedures, equipment, organization, personnel, products, materials, and work arising from changes in laws and regulations cannot proceed unless a management of change process has been completed and, where applicable, include a risk assessment that covers all impacted by the change, a work plan that clearly specifies the timescale for the change and any control measures to be implemented. Permit to work. Work that involves confined space entry and hot work, maintenance and engineering work, or operational activities that have no written procedures need a permit that ensures a safe working environment. The permit and associated documents must be understood by everyone involved in the work. Ensure a safe return to normal operations. Lockout and tagout. Any isolation of energy systems, mechanical, electrical, process, hydraulic and others, cannot proceed unless the method of cut-off and discharge of the stored energy is agreed and executed by a competent person. A test is conducted to ensure the isolation is effective. Isolation effectiveness is periodically monitored. Confined space entry. Entry into a confined space cannot proceed unless all other options have been reviewed and ruled out. The confined space is isolated. The atmosphere has been tested. Standby man stationed nearby with the proper means of communication. Rescue plan and equipment in place. Working at heights. Working at heights can't proceed unless a fixed platform is used with guard or handrails verified and approved by a competent person. If fixed platforms are not a practical option, other systems which prevent falls can be considered. All who use fall arrest systems must be instructed and trained in its use. Excavation. Work that involves a man-made cut, cavity, trench or depression in the soil can't proceed unless all underground hazards, for example pipelines and electrical cables, have been identified, located and, if necessary, isolated. Ground movement must be controlled and collapse prevented by systematically shoring and sloping as appropriate. Ground and environmental conditions must be continuously monitored for change. Motorized vehicles. All categories of on-site motorized vehicles, including forklifts, must not be operated unless the vehicle is appropriate for the purpose, inspected and confirmed to be in a safe working order, seat belts are installed and worn by all occupants, and other relevant safety devices are used as intended. Drivers must be fully trained, qualified and medically fit. PPE, the last line of defense. Vopak will advise what protective clothing is required on site. This will normally include hard hat, anti-static boots, anti-static overalls, gloves, light eye protection, yellow high-vis jacket or tabard. Additional equipment may also be needed. Welfare and hygiene. Food and drink must not be taken onto the site because of the potential to contaminate it with chemicals. This includes sweets and gum. Thoroughly wash your hands and remove any outer clothing before eating, drinking or using the toilet. Leaks or pools of liquid. The transfer of chemicals is carefully controlled so that the site will normally be perfectly safe. Leaks or small pools of liquid around pumps, pipes and equipment must be presumed to be chemicals. Avoid any contact with the liquid. Alert a Vopak employee and seek advice. Contamination. If you think you've been contaminated with chemicals, seek Vopak assistance immediately. Remove contaminated clothing and wash the affected part of your body in the safety shower. You may be required to attend hospital as a precaution because some chemicals have delayed effects. Incident and near-miss reporting. The definition of an incident or near-miss is an unwanted, unplanned event that has the potential to result in a loss. There are good moral, legal and financial reasons for reducing incidents, accidents and ill health at work. Learning lessons from what has gone wrong and taking steps to prevent the incidents, accident or ill health happening again is part of an effective management system. Vopak operates a near-miss reporting scheme, and near-miss report cards are available at various locations around the site. Accidents. First aid is always available on site. All accidents must be recorded in the site accident book, no matter how small. The accident book is kept in the security office. You must make sure that the Vopak contact in charge of your work is informed of the accident. If immediate response is required following an accident, you should raise the alarm by alerting the nearest Vopak employee, use your radio to contact operations or security, use a site telephone to contact operations or security. Contact numbers are on the back of the work permit. Let Vopak know who you are, where you are, and the nature of the injury. Work permits. All work undertaken by contractors on this site is controlled by a permit to work. The permit must be signed by the contractor and authorized by the permit originator and the operations supervisor before work starts. Before the work permit is filled in, the contractor will have to supply the following information and documents: names of all personnel attending site, copy of insurance certificates and training records if applicable, details of equipment, tools and hire plant, job-specific method statements and risk assessments, emergency contact details. Any contractor working in a potentially hazardous area must familiarize themselves with the safe access and egress routes for the work area, location of safety equipment, location of fire alarm call points, job-specific procedures, emergency procedures. The contractors will only be allowed to work on site if they accept the conditions and agree to the precautions on the work permit, only do the work agreed on the permit, stop work if the safe site conditions or the work content changes, and seek advice from Vopak. Last-minute risk assessment. Situations can occur where you can be confronted with a dangerous situation because the hazards may have been overlooked or the workplace hazards have significantly changed. Vopak encourages its contractors to use last-minute risk assessment, or LMRA. Housekeeping. Contractors are responsible for keeping their work area clean, tidy and safe. Bad housekeeping and pollution of the environment can be hazardous to health and will not be tolerated. Work permits will not be signed off until the work area has been checked by Vopak. Hazardous materials and COSH. Agree the arrangements for the use, storage and eventual removal of the hazardous flammable liquids and gases you bring onto the site with your Vopak contact. All hazardous materials must be correctly labelled and stored in a suitable container within a bunded area or a self-contained cabinet. Materials Safety Data Sheets, MSDS, must be valid and available on site. The appropriate health and safety requirements must be in place. Environment. Sand, soil, cement, plaster or other similar bulk materials must not be disposed of into the site drainage system or into the ground. Oils, solvents and chemicals must not be disposed of into the site drainage system or into the ground. This particularly applies to the washing and flushing down or the cleaning of site equipment and vehicles. Waste and rubbish. Agree the arrangements for the removal of waste and rubbish generated by the work you are doing on site with your Vopak contact. General purpose waste, wood, scrap metal and cardboard skips are located in the contractor's compound behind the security office. All waste must be removed from this site by a licensed waste carrier and be supported by copies of the following documents: carrier's license, disposal site license, consignment or transfer note. Traffic and vehicles. At any time of the day or night, heavy goods vehicles may be travelling around site. The site maximum speed limit for all vehicles is 15 miles an hour. Seat belts must be worn. The highway code rules are a legal requirement. Be aware of other traffic and pedestrians in your work area. Do not leave any tools or equipment in areas where road tankers may be loading. You cannot take a vehicle onto the site unless it's specifically allowed on your work permit. All deliveries to site must be escorted to and from the work area. Alternatively, the delivery driver must undergo this induction and be given a site route plan to follow. Safe routes and restricted areas. When walking around the site, use the pedestrian routes where available. Minimum PPE standards must be observed. Do not enter restricted areas without Vopak's permission. Restricted areas include jetties, switch rooms, pump rooms, loading bays, hose exchange areas. The site alarm. This is a rise and fall siren and will continue to sound for the duration of the incident. When the incident is over, the siren will sound continuously for about a minute. This is the all clear. The site alarm is tested every Wednesday at 10 a.m. The test alarm will rise and fall through 2 cycles, then stop. Adjacent sites also test their alarms between 9:30 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. every Wednesday. The rise and fall siren will continue to sound for the duration of the incident. Listen to the sound sample. The siren will sound continuously for about a minute to indicate the all clear. Listen to the sound sample. If the rise and fall siren continues to run for more than about half a minute, it must be treated as a genuine alarm, and you must stop what you're doing and make your work area safe, switch off machinery if it's safe to do so. Go to the agreed muster point as shown on your work permit or follow instructions given by Vopak. Use your radio or the site telephone and contact operations or security to let Vopak know who you are and where you are. Please be patient during an incident and follow any instructions or advice given by Vopak. In the event of a major incident, Vopak's emergency team will liaise with the emergency services and keep all site personnel updated. After mustering, keep your communication to a minimum. The site entrance must be kept clear at all times. All work permits are suspended when the alarm sounds and must be reauthorized by Vopak at the permit office before you resume work. When you've completed this contractor safety induction, you'll sign a document to say that you've understood what you've been told. You'll be given a security pass. This allows you to work on the site under a permit to work. Your security clearance is valid for a maximum of 1 year. You must keep this pass with you at all times while working on the site. If you arrive without your security pass, you may be delayed while another pass is issued, or you could be refused entry to the site. If you are found not working in accordance with this contractor safety induction, or not working to the methods set out in your permit to work, You will have to resit this contractor safety induction. If you commit a serious offence, you will be removed from site and not allowed to work on Vopak Teesside terminal again. The information contained in this induction was compiled by a group of multidisciplined people who've worked on this terminal and in the industry for many years. The information is given in good faith and for the benefit of your health and safety. We all have a legal and moral duty to ourselves and each other to work within the law. Do you need to watch the DVD again? Do you have any questions? Your test paper will be marked by your host after you've completed it. Work safely on our site and do not pollute our environment. Thank you for your time.